Hi class, next I'm going to show you how to prepare your V-neck collar for stitching into your V-neck t-shirt sample. Okay, so with your front, normally you would have your shoulders already sewn, and so you would have your opening like this already without your band in place. So you're going to take that front. Now you're going to have measured on your pattern your seam allowance all the way around your neck opening, and subtracted that shoulder seam because they're already sewn. Then you're going to cut your band accordingly, and it will be a little bit longer than our band was for our crew neck. And you're going to place this underneath your neckline, matching the corners up with that neckline. So I know that's a little hard to see. Hopefully you can see it. Zoom in just a little bit. Maybe you can catch that the rib stitches and the purl stitches are a little different there. And then I'm going to mark that shape of that V. So I just want to mark that V so that I can then mark my seam allowance. So that will become my cutting line. I am then going to come again and mark my stitching line. Now this does not have to be the 3/8 that everything else is. You can make it a bit smaller. That way you don't have to trim it down. So I'm doing a scant 1/4 inch, so just a little bit less than a 1/4 inch. And so with that marked, I will stitch on the red line and then cut on the white, or the blue line rather. It will look like this when it's done, right? And then you're going to clip into that. So make sure you clip all the way to your stitches, but not through your stitches, like this, okay? And then that will, and then press those seams open individually, like this, and like this, and that will allow you to flip this right side out, and you will press it all the way around. Zoom back up there. You will press it all the way around, forming your V-neck band that's in the exact shape of a V as your collar is. So then, like I said, you would have this already sewn to the back of the shirt. And then we want to make sure that the stitching line here matches the stitching line there. So I am going to use 3/8 of an inch to mark that, and then I'm just going to put a little dot right on that stitching line. So I've actually already done that. So I'm measuring 3/8 of an inch, which is a centimeter, and I'm just going to put a dot here, okay, and flip it over and do that on the other side as well. That way you can make sure they match, and then you're going to measure down here 3/8 of an inch and 3/8 of an inch, and just make sure you're directly straight down from that point. I used the ribs on my t-shirt material to guide me, and then that gave me a cross point to start. So when you place this, you want to make sure that you put a pin right through your point and make sure it lines up, because when you pin this down, you're actually flipping it, so it's going to be this side that has to be aligned. And I'm going to position that so that I'm putting it right into the center of that match point. And then I'm going to pivot the band around so that I can sew it. So that is where I will need to pin it to the t-shirt. Now make sure you have an advanced marked your center back as well. So I just folded that in half so I could mark the center back. And then you would have marked the center back of your t-shirt so that when you go to place this on, your center back seam would already be marked. So with this already sewn and in place, it would be like this. You'd be able to mark and bring this around and match that center back to that center back. And then you're going to sew this around, stretching ever so gently as you go your seam allowance. You're going to sew to that pinpoint, stop with the needle down. With the needle down and in position, you will then be able to pivot this around and go the other direction. So it's not always easy, but then you can then keep sewing. It's really important you stop with that needle down because it will make it a lot easier to turn it around. Some people find that if they clip down into this first, it's easier. If you were going to do that, I recommend doing a reinforcement stitch, which is tiny stitches for about 1/4 inch to 3/8 of an inch down and then up. So, but not on your stitching line, just a scant less than your stitching line. So just inside your stitching line, do a reinforcement stitch. So, and then clip this, and then you can open this up, which then when it's sewn, it will look like it's split. Okay, but that little clip allows you to get the fabric to lay flat and get that perfect point. Okay.